First, we're gonna take some soap. Why don't you show us the soap first? We'll start this over again. It's regular dish soap. Pour it on your sponge, and then take your watch and just wash it very thoroughly. Spend a lot of time firmly rubbing your watch in all the little cracks around the dial. Really sub that up. Spend a good 5 minutes doing this because you really want to make sure that you get all the dirt out of your watch. All the oil, all the other particles. Many people have been wearing their watches for many months now, and it might have accumulated a lot of schmutz on there. We want all of that gone. Any bit of dirt that's left on there will be areas that are not gold plated. So notice how you're putting the little sponge in the crevice where the bands go, and work that really good. Also, it's helpful to press those little buttons to release the crevice. You kind of with your nail while because sometimes dirt can get in there, and just repeatedly pressing those a few times with the sponge and stuff will get some of that oil and dirt that might have accumulated in the button. The thing about this chemistry for gold plating is oil and dirt are the enemies of gold plating. Any bit of oil or dirt will interfere with the process, and you will not be pleased with the results if you leave dirt on oil on your watch. Even oil you can't see, like a fraction of a fingerprint, not good. Now you don't have to wear gloves or anything while you do this. This is perfectly safe. This is what's recommended by Apple to clean your watch. Just using a mild soap like dish soap and water. So this is safe according to Apple for your watch. One thing to also spend a lot of time on is the back of the watch, right the crack in between the the ceramic back with the sensors on it. Dirt and oil can get in that crack. So I see you're kind of using your nail and then the sponge and then rubbing around that. It's a really good idea. And then also the area where there's the fine writing with the model number on it, kind of rub in there too, so that those areas have the dirt eliminated. You're going to be very happy you'll have a very clean watch. Now, the other thing that some people have asked about is, will this clean or remove any scratches on the watch? No, this will not. Any scratches that you have on the watch will remain there. And the gold plating itself will not remove those scratches. They'll just be gold, and then the scratch will still be there. Okay, let's see the back. That looks very, very clean. Perfect. Okay, we're good. What we're gonna do now is we've washed the watch, and we are going to place the watch holder as well as the rubber stopper and the crown and dial connector. And you'll see Jonathan place the watch holder on the watch. He doesn't have the gloves on yet because it's really hard to manipulate with the gloves. Now your hands are clean because you've washed the watch and your hands. So your hands are pretty free of oil or anything like that, and the watch is also totally clean. There are two sizes of watches, and there are also two sizes of watch holder. There's one for the big watch, which is the 42mm watch, and there's that's what this one is right here. And then there's also the size for the small watch. And you have indicated which one you want. If you get the wrong one, definitely notify me. So we're gonna put this in. The first thing is from the back of the watch. You don't wanna do this from the front. From the back of the watch, you put it in the crevice like this. It turns out if you try to do it this way first, it doesn't work. You have to kind of lay it flat a little bit, and it should slide right into that crevice. And then you can see that this end right here is still hanging there. And it seems like it shouldn't go, but you can kind of take your thumbs and push it over, and it'll snap into place. Okay, we've had a few incidences where this plastic thing has cracked or broken. If it's still usable and the watch is still secure in there, go ahead and use it. But if it cracks or it totally breaks, definitely contact me and we'll send you out another one. So now we have this watch in the in this holder. All right, now the next step is to add these two pieces. So you have two of these, you only need to use one of them. And this connects the crown to the watch body. And you're like, why do you need this little piece of copper wire? What's that for? Well, the crown is electrically isolated from the body of the watch. Because this is an electrochemical process, all of it needs to be electrically connected. So you're basically connecting the crown to the body. And then the crown will also be gold plated. If you don't want the crown gold plated and you want to keep it silver, don't do that. I mean, that's certainly an option of yours. And the other thing in here is this rubber stopper. That is to prevent liquid from getting into the microphone hole. The liquid probably doesn't harm the mic, but this is just in case. There have been some reports of some issues that people had with microphones. Very few percentage, but this is just for some extra safety. So here we have those items, and then let's see if we can get in the. So yeah, the first thing there's the little microphone hole is there, and then there's the two speaker holes that are there. We're going to put it in the microphone hole, and you can kind of push it in there as far. It's going to go in a few millimeters, and it should stick there. Perfect. And then once it's sticking there securely, you're going to take scissors and snip off most of it. So snip it off to about where the watch, the holder is. Yeah, and now you just have like this little tiny peg sticking out, and that will prevent anything from going into the microphone hole. Now the next part are these, the copper crown connectors. And there's two sides of it. Let's show you two sides. There's the side that has the loop, and then there's the side that has these little tiny like sharp prongs. Use a loop side so that nothing sharp goes in there. Okay, we're gonna stick that right in between the crown and the frame of the watch. Might take you a few tries to get it lodged in there. It's okay if you kind of really shove it through there, but now we have that. If you rotate it, you can see it's kind of sticking straight out of that crown. Now we're set up. We have these two things in, and we are next going to place the watch in the container. Right, exactly. Perfect. So the watch is in the container. This wire is kind of just coming up. The thing about the wire, this is what I like to do so the watch doesn't like get out. I'll show you how I do it. Is take the wire and kind of bend it around this, and then kind of curl it underneath the lip. So you see how it's kind of bent like that around it. That secures the watch. Notice how I was also pressing the watch down, so the watch is flat against the bottom of this. And now we have the watch in here. Oh shoot! I noticed that this little tiny holder came out. We'll put that back in. If the little rubber stopper does come out, you might have to reset that. All right, so I'm going to reset that. So this is a little bit of a sensitive process. It might take a few times to get this stuff done. I'd have to leave it. I tried to cut the rubber stopper off so it didn't stick too far inside the watch. Yeah, there we go. The watch turned on. That can happen. We do want the watch to be off when we start the chemistry part of this. It's important that your watch is off. If you leave your watch on and this starts, you risk breaking your watch. Make sure your watch is off.
Any advantages to letting it die before doing it other than it won't come on during the process?
That is a really good question. If you let your watch, the battery totally run out and the watch dies, that would definitely be an ideal situation, because then even if you bump the power button, it won't turn on. We're going to put on the gloves now and our safety goggles because we are going to break out the chemicals. Please use the gloves. These chemicals are not friendly. They are poisonous. You do not want to drink them. You don't want to have them around small children. You want to store them in a secure location. The chemicals are not good to have in contact with your skin. So, we are ready for some chemistry. All right, you want to open that up? So, one thing you'll notice is, let's see if we can get the scissor in there, is these chemicals are pretty securely shipped. I have special tape around the, I don't want to show it. I think I can do this without the gloves first. So there's special tape around here. It's basically electrical tape. This is so that it doesn't spill during transport. So the special, these special chemicals are really safely transported because they're in double containers, and then there's this absorbent material around it. So before I open the final container, I'm going to put on the gloves. And by the way, before you open this up, check on the bottom to make sure there's nothing that had leaked in it. If it did leak, you definitely don't want to touch that stuff. It shouldn't leak, but do the final check. So I opened up one. Jonathan opened up the other one. You want to get this one too? Now we're going to put our glove on. Yeah. We got the wire. We have our power cord. So there's some labels on those. The red one goes, well, that's the black one. That one goes to the black cable that's attached to the watch. And then there's the red one, which you just hook onto the side of the metal container. Perfect. We have all this set up with the wires on it, and we have the special cable connected to your power supply. And before we plug it in, we are going to pour in the step 1 solution. So let's show them what that is. This is the electro cleaning solution. And Jonathan's going to open it up, and he's going to pour most of the solution in there. You're going to pour enough in there so that it covers the entire watch. That's good. You might have a little bit left over. Yeah. Now we're going to plug this in. Everything's set up. What you're going to see is... we got to turn the power supply on. There we go. You can start to see some bubbles forming. That is the chemical reaction. Notice that we place this in this little plastic container because sometimes it has a tendency to foam over. We're going to leave this in here for about 3 minutes. This step 1 solution, the electro cleaning solution, is completely cleaning your watch. It's removing all the oil and everything. Now, it won't clean off lots of build up layers. You cleaned that before by using the dish soap. But this will clean any residual oils and other stuff. This is it's kind of a cool chemical reaction that's happening on the surface of the steel, and it makes everything perfectly clean, and it exposes the bare metal, and that's what you need for the next steps. You need the bare metal so that the chemistry can happen.
Is there any need to wiggle it around, or is it getting all of the nooks and crannies?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, you can kind of tap a little bit. With the bubbles, sometimes the bubbles get kind of stuck on the side. I don't know if you've seen that in like a soda, when you have some soda in a glass, sometimes the bubbles get stuck on the side, and wherever there's a bubble that doesn't move, the surface won't have any chemistry going on in there. Sometimes if you like lift it up and tap a little bit, you definitely want to be careful here. You don't want to like spill it anywhere. But sometimes people ask, well, what is this solution? This is a very basic solution, and it is a very, very powerful cleaning agent.
It's like crap, we don't have a timer, but we do.
We do, yeah. Oh, yeah, so if you do have a timer handy, that would be nice. Or someone to help you who can manipulate the timer, because you've got these gloves on. Yeah, it definitely helps to have another person there with you, but yeah, you can do it alone if you're looking at your clock. The timing doesn't need to be exact. It's not like 3.0000 minutes and 0 seconds. If you go over a little bit, that's okay. If you go under a little bit, that's okay. But as long as it's about 3 minutes. It's getting nice and frothy.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a foamy beer, but yeah, don't drink that. All right, so now we're going to disconnect it and pour back the remaining solution into your original container. You could still use this solution. Let's say later down the line when, in a year or so, who knows how long. It depends on how abrasive you are with the watch. If some of the gold plating wears off, it will eventually wear off. All gold plated jewelry will wear off at some point. It should last a long time, and you'll have extra solution that you can do this again down the line. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we are going to rinse with distilled water. We're going to rinse it twice. Jonathan's just going to pour in distilled water to the top and then pour it out. He's going to discard it into the container that this came in. And then do it again. You can get most of it. You want to do it a third time? Just on the safe side. Perfect. So now we've washed away the cleaning solution. Oh, I noticed you were using a trick by kind of holding your finger down on the face of the watch when you're pouring it. It's a good idea. Okay, now we're off to the next solution, which is, let's see, here's the label. It is the Woods nickel solution. Stainless steel is really difficult to plate with gold or any other metal. What this solution does is it prepares the surface of the stainless steel to accept the gold, and it is adding an imperceptible layer of nickel that will interact with the chromium atoms that are there. And so we're going to plug this in right now, and you're also going to start seeing bubbles. We're going to do this for about That's about two or so minutes is probably fine. And you're definitely going to want to tap this because this forms larger bubbles. It doesn't foam as much. I'm even like picking it up and tapping it on the ground. Yeah, just like that. The tapping is definitely recommended. You can see these bubbles kind of building up on different parts around the crown, and you want to have the solution kind of go all around in that. But so this is a very acidic compound. It has hydrochloric acid. That's goggles. You don't want that stuff in your eyes, and a little bit of nickel in it. You're not going to see any difference. It's not like you're going to see the nickel on top of the stainless steel, but you're at the atomic level, there's going to be just a tiny bit of nickel there. And nickel is great for plating, whether you're plating it with gold or platinum or copper or any other type of metal. Okay, I think we're good. All right, now we're going to carefully pour this stuff back. Great. Yep. You can use whichever one. That's fine. And then we're going to rinse it again 3 times, just like before. Perfect. So the watch is kind of coming up on one side. I'm just going to push it down. There we go. Okay, now we're ready for the gold plating. There's an additional step with the power supply. Like, what was this capacitor for? That is actually for this step. A capacitor is something that impedes the flow of current. We are going to connect this capacitor in between this connector, the black wire, and the black wire going to the watch. So you can disconnect that and then kind of yeah, I would first, just perfect. And then you're going to take these 2 wires and kind of twist them together. I guess be careful with this. Yeah, keep the watch in there.
So I'm going to twist this over.
Actually, that's a good question because I noticed you were trying to put it on this side. Yeah, I'll So you're just going to take one end of this and you're going to put it in the black wire and just kind of twist this together. It can be sloppy, just so that these wires are in good contact with each other.
And then we'll connect.
Yeah, so I've twisted them together, so they're pretty. These are more looped together. Actually, let me try something else. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unloop this wire. So I'm going to kind of straighten it out. And then take this straight wire. And then just put them next to each other. And then kind of twist them like that. There we go. That's good. And then I'm going to take the other side, so not this side where it's twisted together, but on the other side of this thing, which is the capacitor, and connect it like that. You'd be like, what is this for? This seems kind of complicated. Well, I guess it is a little bit, but the instructions are just put the capacitor in between the black wire, in between the two black wires, so the black wires are on either side. And here you can see they're twisted together here, and then you connect this one together. This capacitor will impede the flow of electricity. So what we're doing right now is we are lowering the amount of electricity that goes through to the watch, because with the gold plating part, you want to have a lower amount of electricity. This power supply is at 5 volts, and we'll plug this in after we pour the gold in. And the 5 volts is a little too high for the gold solution. The chemistry works better at a lower voltage. And this is a poor man's way of doing this. Since the chemistry, the voltages don't need to be exact. Actually, I think I'm going into too many details. Just put the capacitor there. It will work. If you want to know more details about how this works from the chemistry or electronic point of view, maybe I'll write something about that later. All right, so we're going to pour the solution in. This is the purple one. This is the one that has gold in it. It's real gold that's dissolved in the solution. It's not gold flecks or gold chunks. It's gold atoms that are floating in there. All right, now we're going to plug it in. And you're going to start to see bubbles too. So we're going to let this be in here for a good amount of time, like maybe 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes if you want a really thick gold plating. And again, we're going to be tapping it on the side, just like before. And like all of the solutions, this one is also a poisonous solution, so don't drink it. And wear the gloves. And continually tap it. But tap it in a controlled manner, so that it doesn't spill or go crazy. So the color of the solution is from the cobalt that's in there. There is a small amount of cobalt that is a hardener, and that is the atom that creates this really nice purple color. If you had 100% pure gold, 24 karat gold, deposited onto the surface of your watch, it would rub off fairly quickly. Gold is a soft metal, and without the cobalt hardener, it will come off pretty quickly. But with the cobalt hardener, the hardness of the gold plating is superior to that of pure gold and a lot of other gold plating kits that are out there. Cobalt is used in steel, like if you've heard of cobalt steel, that's used for things like drill bits or cutting instruments. It's one of the elements that's put into steel to make it really hard, and you can also use it for gold. The gold itself, it's mostly, it's like 99% gold on there, maybe far less than 1% cobalt that's in there. The gold itself that's dissolved in there is atomically dissolved gold that's floating around in solution. And gold is really difficult to dissolve, so it uses some very harsh chemicals to get it to dissolve in solution. And by running the electricity through it, you are taking the gold plus atoms that are floating around in solution and putting an electron on them, and then they deposit onto the surface of the steel. That's also why you need to use this electricity. Otherwise, the chemical reaction won't happen. You're driving the chemical reaction with your little 5-volt power supply. Now, the thing about this setup with this strange capacitor thing here, your Apple power supply, and this special power cord, it's a hack for how to do this at home using your own power supply. If you were to go to a professional metal plater or a jeweler who does gold plating, they're going to have a big power supply, a big specialized piece of equipment that's basically doing the same thing as your power supply, except that thing is going to cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for the setup they have. The magic in the kit that I created is you can do the same thing that the jeweler does using your own stuff and some wires and this capacitor, which keeps the price of the kit really affordable, and so that we can all do this at home instead of having to pay a jeweler a lot of money to do this for us. So the longer you leave this in there, the thicker the plating of gold that you'll get. we're going to do, at least for this one, we're pretty much going to use up a lot of the gold in it, so that it's a really nice thick gold plating, and it'll last a really long time. So I have my watch here that I gold plated the beginning of doing this project, and it is still perfectly gold plated. There's no issues on it, and I've been wearing it every day for about 4 months. Almost done.
Yay.
I think we're about 4.5 minutes or so. Okay, I think we're done with the time. We're going to disconnect the power supply and pour this solution back. And then we're gonna rinse it a few times. We can actually use tap water now because the process is done, but we're just gonna use this. Okay, let's take it out. Come closer. So it looks really good. You'll notice though that it has kind of a matte finish to it. Oh, the button. We forgot to push the button to the side.
Awesome.
Is that okay with you, or?
Is it too late to get the button?
We can. I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
Is it hard to have it plated on the plated? The wrist looks so good though.
Yeah, no, it's great.
God damn it.
I'm really sorry. I totally forgot about that. We both did. We did it before. All right, so I'll mention this on the video. One thing that we actually forgot to do for this is to take the button and kind of push it to the side, because you'll notice the button here is still silver. So our button here is still silver. The reason is that we forgot to do this, is to take your nail and kind of push the button down and to the side. It's the same thing that I was talking about with the crown, and why you need this little wire is the button is electrically isolated, and we wanted to kind of push it against the side, so the button itself is pushing against the side of the watch. But this is a possibility that it could happen for some people, even if they push it down. But most of the time, like 95% of the time, if you push it down and to the side, which we forgot to do, the button will also be gold plated. So here's an instance where the button did not get plated. If this does happen, definitely post a message or let me know. We forgot, and there are a number of steps here, and some of them, you do have to follow all the instructions, and we just totally overlooked it. But I'm actually, in some ways, I'm upset this has happened, but I'm also glad to show you that this is one of the things that could go wrong. The watch looks fantastic. We're gonna polish this up, and it's gonna be perfect except for that button. I'll talk about strategies later about how to fix that. So we're gonna rinse this out in the sink. We're also gonna dump out this this solution. I'm gonna put the gloves back on because we're still handling some of these solutions here. We have this solution, which was the discard water. If you were running a metal plating shop or you were an industrial producer, you couldn't dump this out in the sink. But in this case, I think it's probably okay. Although if you're concerned about it, this technically should be hazardous wastewater. But we have such little amounts of chemicals, and you're not dumping out these chemicals. You've saved them. okay? For any, potentially down the line if you want to do this again or on someone else's watch. We're just discarding the rinsing water. And then we're going to rinse our watch in the sink. As we're also going to take the watch out of this contraption, which is the holder. Is this in focus? Yeah, it's good. So we're going to take the holder out. We're going to take it out from behind, not this way from the front. It's from the back of the watch. And we're going to pull the side that doesn't have the wire on it. It's possible that this holder will break, but hopefully not, so that you can use it again. Kind of pulling out, and then you can get that out like that. Okay, I'm also going to remove this little rubber stopper that we have in there. So the hole looks great. And we will show you the steps on how to get this perfectly nice and clean. Okay, I'm going to rinse this before. There was this thing too. Okay. We have 2 watches here. This one's not yet polished, so there's a little bit of it's kind of like a matte finish to it. Sometimes it can look a little like dark or cruddy. That's okay. This is what it'll look like when it's done, when you finish polishing it. Also to note here is the mistake when we forgot to push this button with your nail down into the side. Just take your nail and kind of push it, not in, but down to the side. We forgot that step. So the button didn't get gold plated. It's still stainless steel. But here is what it looks like when it's properly gold plated. And we had pushed this down to the side. So both the crown and the button got gold plated in this case. Now what we're going to do is, for the watch that we just gold plated, we are going to use some baking soda, which comes with your kit, but this is the same baking soda that you use to make cookies. You can buy it in the store. And we are going to create a little paste with it. So I would first pour some of it down here and then take a little bit of water. And you can use your bare hands for this, because none of this is harmful stuff. It's just baking soda. We've washed the watch and our workspace here. I was like, dab a tiny bit in there. Very tiny bit. There we go. And probably just take your finger and mix it together so it turns into like a toothpaste consistency. Perfect. Right, and then you're gonna take a paper towel or a clean, non-abrasive sponge, and you are going to rub this with this baking soda paste. It's very important that you use a paper towel or something that's soft and with this baking soda paste, because if you use a polishing compound, an abrasive polishing compound, you will polish the gold plating completely off. Now that the watch is gold plated, you do not want to get the watch polished. If there were any scratches that were there before, they're gonna probably be here now. To eliminate those scratches, you probably want to do that before. This step is actually polishing the watch with baking soda, which is very soft, and it'll just move it will just smooth it out, the gold plating, but it won't remove it. I'm trying to think of what's happening on a atomic level is during the gold plating process, the gold is being deposited in layers on top of the stainless steel, and sometimes those layers get a little messed up because the gold might be coming down too fast onto the stainless steel. And the result is that at an atomic level, you get peaks and valleys. You'll get a peak of gold atoms kind of building up into a ridge, and they'll have a valley. And what it'll look like visually is it'll look like stained or blackish or brownish, or kind of a matte finish, instead of that beautiful mirror gold finish. And by using the this baking soda, you're smoothing out those atomic ridges. You're not, it's not like you're gonna feel these things. This is at an atomic level, like really, really tiny scale that you'd need a very powerful electron microscope to see. So yeah, don't be afraid to get in there and, you know, just rub it. You're applying like some medium pressure there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not like grinding into it super hard, but you're also not just, you know, doing it lightly. And you can be liberal with this baking soda. While Jonathan's doing that, I'll talk a little bit about what you can do to gold plate your bands. A lot of you have these bands that are the rubber version of the Apple bands. These you can gold plate, doing exactly what we did before. Instead of, you know, this watch attachment, you would you know, attach the this thing to here, like that, right? And then have it go through the process inside of this stainless steel container. If you have some type of leather band, and here's an example of a leather band, and you want to plate the part that goes on the watch as well as this clasp, it gets a little more complicated because you must protect the leather from the chemicals. And we'll have another thing where I do that. I'll show you a video of it.
I think we're good.
Yeah?
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah, looks pretty good. I mean, you can keep on polishing it if it. Oh yeah, it's almost perfect. So, okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome. You can keep on polishing it with the baking soda until you're satisfied with it. So. Is there any like dark spots on the baking soda on the on the rag? No, we're good. Okay, so there's.
Okay, yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay. When you're done with the baking soda part, you're just gonna rinse this off in the sink, and then your watch is done.